Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. In 2017, 309,000 babies were born in Australia. So let's say that the average baby is 2 years old now from 2017. I suspect that 90+% of them don't have a bank account now. In 2 or 3 years' time, their parents might register them for a bank account and they'll get a little piggy bank or some other sort of gift from the bank. If they're with the Commonwealth Bank, they might be set up with a Christmas account or Dolomite account or something. And in about 20 years' time, they'll probably have the equivalent of a key card or a debit card and a credit card, but they'll still be a pretty minor contributor to the bank's profits. Maybe in 25 or 30 years' time, they'll be taking their first loan to buy a house, and maybe some of them will, at that time, be starting to borrow for a business or be running business accounts through that bank. So those 2017 babies, looking forward 20 to 30 years, will be hopefully good, profitable customers for a traditional bank. What I want to talk about today is the opportunity for modern digital banking that Novatti will bring to bear through a migrant services bank on top of the existing fast growth payments business that we have. Let me talk about a migrant and being a bank customer. So typically over the last 10 years we've had between 200 and 300,000 migrants coming to Australia per year, not a dissimilar number to the number of babies being born. But a migrant coming to Australia, possibly as a single person, possibly as the head of a family, immediately requires banking needs. They require a transaction account to receive their salary, to receive Centrelink payments. They need that transaction account to pay for their rent, to make bill payments, to get cash every week, and so forth. Normal, busy transaction account. We're already in the business of remittance. We can see that migrants, when they first come to Australia and for many years afterwards, have family and community obligations to send money back to their home country. Cross-border payments, a profitable piece of business, remittances we otherwise call them. We also see with many migrants, within a year or two of them coming to Australia, that large amounts of money are flowing to them. Maybe they've left New Delhi, come to Australia for a job, $75,000, $80,000, $100,000 a year as a software developer. 2 years in Australia, they sell their house in New Delhi, bring across $200,000, $300,000, buy a house in Australia with a loan from an Australian bank. So essentially, the banking life cycle of a new migrant is much shorter and much more profitable than the traditional, let's say, banking life cycle of a baby born in Australia. What I want to lead to today is that Novatti is a fast growth fintech. We listed 3 years ago and we're performing very strongly in an operational sense. And at the same time, we're incubating a new bank licence, and we see that that's a major value uplift point that the shareholders in our company should be able to join in. So, digital banking, which is what we're bringing through on top of a high growth fintech company. So today, Novatti, code NOV, we've been listed for just over 3 years. Our half-yearly revenues have been growing strongly half year on half year, and last half year we did just under $4 million. And what's particularly important about that is that just over 50% of that $4 million was from the processing of financial transactions, primarily moving money out of Australia or back into Australia for cross-border payments. So when we listed, financial transaction processing was zero. We were a company that just sold technology. Now we sell technology to third parties, which is what we've always done, but we also build technology for the deployment in our own financial transaction networks. The graph on the bottom right is a quarter-on-quarter reflection of the growth in our financial transaction processing, which is the parts of our revenue that the market sees as highly valuable and for which fintech companies get strongly valued. So let me now move on to banking and in particular our application for a new banking licence. We're already a financial technology company. We have a financial services licence. We're a remittance network provider registered with AUSTRAC. We have our own technology. We already process an increasing and in fact fast-growing number of financial transactions. But we're innovative, and we saw that the government was offering up the opportunity for new bank licences, and in particular the government, in essentially a step to bring in more competition, legislated that there would be what's called a restricted bank licence. So essentially a slightly easier way for new entrants to become a bank. So if I look at what's happening there is new types of technology, digital technology. We've had the Royal Commission, and I guess for all of us we've seen the amount of pain that many consumers and businesses in Australia have taken from the traditional banks, and a lot of that is to do with just a reflection of a lack of deep competition. And we've got the government saying, hey, we want new licensees. Here is a stepped way for you to become a bank. Now, to become a bank, we have to go through an application process with the regulator, APRA. It is a massive amount of work. We've had a team of about 11 people for the year leading up till November last year when we lodged our application, building our application. We had one of the Tier 1 accounting firms, KPMG, with consultants supporting us, and we have lodged in November our application. And so at the moment we're in the phase of APRA working through their investigations with us, and hopefully that leads to us being granted a licence. So right now we think that we're very well positioned. We're a fintech company. We already have financial processing licences. We already have compliance teams. We're already doing financial processing, and we're bidding for a new bank licence and the long-term value that will bring. And we're seeing globally that new banks can be launched, and they look very different to a traditional bank. The bank that we launch will never have a branch office. No one will be able to go into our bank and hand over cash. They won't have a passbook. They won't have a piggy bank. There'll be nothing like that. We will be a beautiful online bank, very, very great smartphone applications, computer front ends, highly digital, highly productive, highly efficient, both for us as the operator of the bank and for our customers. At the end of year one in our business plan, we see that we'll have approximately 65 staff. That is nothing like a bank that you know today. So we will be a very low-cost operating bank. So we're following regulatory change, we're following global trends. We've seen some of the new banks in say the UK have valuations of billions of pounds within a short number of years of launching. So I've got here on the right some logos of some banks out of the UK and USA, which have all been launched in the last 2, 3, 4, 5 years. And these banks have gained large number of customers, similar to us, very, very digital, and they can attract very, very high valuations as they focus on their niche and move to profitability and growth in customers. So we as Novatti, following regulation, following technology, spending the money now to get a new licence and to take advantage of these new trends. Where does the sort of bank we're talking about make money? I've said that we'll be a migrant services bank. The niche we will focus on will be current migrants in Australia, and very particularly the migrants coming to Australia every year. Over the last number of years, it's been 200,000 to 300,000 per year. I think the government has recently said 160,000, but it's still very large numbers of new people coming to Australia every year, most of whom are coming where the leader in the family, whether it be a single person or one of the parents, is coming to a high-paying professional job. So great customers right from the start. So we will provide them with transaction accounts. Their normal banking, there might be a fee per month, there might be all the standard fees that you've seen in a traditional bank. Once we've got a deposit base, we can be involved in lending, whether we lend directly to a customer or we lend wholesale to other lenders, but certainly products such as credit cards, through to personal loans, through to home loans, that's the sort of product we can give to our customers. Correspondent banking is a particularly important revenue stream. As a new bank in Australia, we'll be able to directly work with a lot of the counterparty banks that we already work with overseas, and we can be a presence for them and their customers in Australia. So essentially a large part of our business will be working with overseas banks. And something that we already do a lot of at the moment is international remittances and payments. For our niche customer base, a migrant, we will be one of their best choices for sending money overseas and bringing money back to Australia, which is just a key requirement. I've said we'll be very, very migrant focused, and it is following the life cycle of someone coming here. As I said, most new visas to Australia, professional visas, someone is coming to Australia for a services job. Essentially the minimum is really $60,000 per year for that sort of job, but easily coming here for $70,000, $80,000, $100,000, $200,000 a year job. They need their transaction banking, they need to be able to send money back to their home country, they need to be able to bring money out to Australia, they need to be able to borrow within a few years to buy a house. So we can follow that life cycle for a very good, very high value customer. We don't want to compete head on with the main banks. That we see as a business plan as a recipe for disaster. We're focusing on a small niche where we will have very specialist expertise. Actually, a lot of the customers, we'll actually get them before they even come to Australia. We'll represent our services in China or India in particular and say, we can provide you banking services in Australia, this is who we are, this is how we've tailored the services for you as a new migrant to Australia. Let me talk about one migrant group in particular, or one visa class in particular, international students. Think of, say, a 20-year-old girl who's come here from China, probably from a one-child family, studying at a tertiary institution, full fee paying student. She's probably paying $60,000, $70,000 a year, full fees at our university to be here. Plus, she has to pay for accommodation and food and living and everything else. Being generous, that might be another $30,000 or $40,000 a year. So let's say that our 20, 21-year-old from China, she's paying $100,000 a year inside Australia to be here. She's paying rent, utility bills, she's paying for food, all sorts of things. She needs to be banked whilst she's here. When she graduates, many are allowed to stay here to do various work experience. They extend their visa. A high percentage then convert to be permanent residents and eventually citizens. So there we've got, at the moment, I think there's 600,000 international students in Australia. A focus on servicing them, providing them with a prepaid card, bank accounts, and eventually lending type services. that's a new sort of customer that's very different to our 2-year-old who was born in 2017. So, Novatti, we're seeking a new bank licence. We're working closely with APRA on it, and we're in their investigatory pre-awarding phase. We are building our customers now. We already do a lot of remittance. We're already servicing a lot of these customers with a prepaid card business. We have a number of brands in the market at the moment. We have a business called ChinaPayments.com, already doing bill payments and other services for Chinese consumers who have bills and other services that they're paying for in Australia. We have a business called Flexi Wallet, which is all about remittances and cross-border payments. We have a company called Vasco Pay, which has already issued about 15,000 prepaid cards, the vast majority into tertiary students, migrants, taxi drivers and other workers who fit the future market segment of our bank. So, in summary, the investment opportunity. Novatti, already a high-growth fintech business, increasingly successful in building our financial transaction revenue streams. We are bringing through a bank licence, and assuming we're awarded by APRA, it is essentially not valued within the market capitalisation of our company. So the real financial opportunity is that there is hidden value being brought through as we bring through a new bank licence focused on that high-value migrant segment. Thank you very much.